Welcome to the Clinical Cookout.
Hey now, it's your Auntie Ashley.
What's up? It's your girl, Auntie Suge.
Hey, it's your girl, Auntie Quiche.
Hey y'all, it's Auntie Amber.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. We are qualified clinicians who will cover various topics on mental health and will sometimes provide community resources. We are not being paid by any organization for our content, and any information we provide is general and pertains to our own personal experiences. We do not provide psychotherapy, diagnoses, or treatment recommendations on air. Any concerns related to your individual mental health should be directed to your medical and mental health professionals. We are not responsible for others' decisions or the subsequent consequences.
Hey y'all, the aunties are back. We wanted to kind of take a different route today and talk about the church and them, the folk, okay? So recently there's been a huge conversation on social media about pastors, ministers, prophetess, whoever, basically coming after their congregation for listening to worldly music or attending worldly concerts. So I wanted to ask the audience and I wanted to ask the aunties what they think. Are these pastors, preachers, prophetess, ministers, or, are they supposed to come after their congregation for listening to worldly music? Should they be putting them in check? Or should they mind their business and not be judging? What y'all think?
I think it goes both ways. A pastor is a shepherd or a minister or prophetess, although you got people who don't believe in certain gifts, but nonetheless, the pastor in particular is the shepherd of the church. So they are supposed to guide you to what is right, what is deemed right. The problem is, I think my major issue is the hypocrisy behind it, because they are very selective in which music is not okay. I have seen many pastors say, back in our day, the music was good. But sir, the music was still secular, and nor was it all good. Secular is secular no matter what the person is singing or rapping about. And that's my issue. Don't tell me you can listen to the OJs, but then I can't go to a Beyonce concert. See, that's where hypocrisy comes in. So for me, it's like, should you be guiding your congregation? Yes, but you also might need to mind your business and not judge, because I'm sure there's some secular stuff in your playlist. It's just deemed appropriate secular stuff to you. That's my issue.
Hey, Ashley.
Hey, did that hit home for you, girl? No, just
You're like everything I was thinking, and then more. I was like, that I have nothing now.
well, for me, it's the judgment part. It's the judgment. So if you're going to guide someone on another path, you don't have to demean them or you don't have to judge them for whatever they're doing in the moment. And I specifically remember when I used to go to church back in Texas, I really loved that church and that pastor because I would do and say things that weren't necessarily appropriate in the church setting, but the pastor never judged. He would like give me, resources or books to say, hey, why don't you, read this instead of saying like, you don't need to be acting like that. You're not allowed to do that. That's not okay. Just cut it off. So if you're doing it in a non-judgmental way, a supportive way, educating people on, why this might not be appropriate, then that's okay. But from what I've seen on social media, that's not how it's happening.
I always wonder, if you're not listening to any secular music, what do you get it on to? That's just it's a good question. Well, listen, I am not about to get it in to Donnie McClurkin's playlist.
Listen,
you know what? You should cut this video because you know what? Go to commercial. Go to commercial.
You even got ads yet, and Keish like, go to commercial.
Let's go to commercial.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
I'm not wrong. Everybody gonna be asking, somebody thought about it. Is it
No, you're not wrong.
Me and my pastor talked about it. I think it was like, it's like TD Jakes like love songs.
Yeah, he got a love song album that you're supposed to get it onto. So
that's disturbing.
So does BB and CC Winans, and so does Tamala
Yeah.
Mann. They make love albums that are gospel centric. That you're supposed. I'm like, no. That will shut down the entire mood. I don't care how sexy. You can't make Jesus sexy, ma'am, sir.
Yes.
I am bamboozled.
I mean, I don't see the problem with it anyways, with listening to whatever kind of music you want to listen to. But I'm just saying, if you're gonna like try to get somebody to not listen to it, don't come at them like that. Like they're doing something completely wrong or something's wrong with them. But I don't see the problem. Like you can listen to whatever music you want to, as long as you ain't here acting completely out of line, right? Like, why is it such a big deal?
Well, the deal comes in because some music is suggestive, right? Some music, like y'all heard that song was like "Push Me to the Ledge," "All My Friends Are Dead," and like a lot, some music is highly suggestive of some negative things. Like some music glorifies drug use, um, prostitution. Like some music is pretty drastically away from the church. And when saints are listening to it, that's where they're coming from. It's like, how are you this saved person, but this is what you put inside your body, this is what you put inside your mind, inside your temple. So it's kind of like whatever you put in, that's what's going to come out. That's the idea behind it. That's why they're saying like, well, maybe you should watch what you input into your temple. The problem comes in is like Ashley said, is like, okay, well, where's the fine line? That's the hard part.
I really just don't think it's that serious. I think it's like an
not.
assumption from pastors or whoever that everybody who listens to this music is wanting to do the things that they're hearing in the music. Half the time, I'm just listening to the beat. Like, I just want to hear it and just beat down the road. That's it. I ain't even listening to the words.
I'm going to hell because I want to listen to these motherfuckers ain't stopping me. I'm trying to hurt myself up. I'm going to hell. I'm going to hell because I want to listen to these motherfuckers ain't stopping me. I'm trying to hurt myself up. I'm going to hell. I'm going to hell.
That's why I can't get with it.
Yo,
Like, don't judge me. Don't judge me. You can tell me it ain't right, but don't judge me for it.
music is art. We know that. People make music based off of their own life experience or whatever may have you. So even that song, Push Me to the Edge, like this person is depressed. Somebody is going to resonate with that because they're in that space and now they don't feel alone. But when you get songs that like glorify drug use or things like that, some of them people came from that life. They're literally like rap in and of itself is storytelling. It's oral storytelling. So part of it is like it's an art form and people are telling their stories. And then the other part of it is my problem with telling saints, especially, to guard their ear gates. Yes, true indeed, but they also give Satan way too much power. If we're going to sit up here and say God is all powerful, why are you giving Satan and demons all this power that they can so sway you? And we know that it's possible, but it's like, sir, going to a Beyonce concert ain't gonna all of a sudden make me start worshiping Satan. I'm not sure where this idea is coming from. Like, where is that coming from? If I am centered and God is the center of my life, that's it. Like, nothing should sway me from that if God is all powerful and I can't be taken out of his hand.
And that's where I have the issue. It's this reach, this overarching delusional reach of, oh, well, you're gonna go straight to hell. You are being summoned. It's gonna be Satan. It's just like this fear tactic that politicians use, that these preachers and pastors are using on a congregation. Like, I don't get that. And to me, some TikToker asked a question. He said, show me evidence where Pacific artists, because you know what artists I'm talking about, who gets drugged through the mud, no matter what she makes, it don't even got nothing to do half of the time with church people. No matter what she makes, church people go after her, no matter what. And they said, show me evidence where Beyonce's music has sent somebody to suicide. Show me. And they were like, we can show you how many times we've had people come to us saying that they were suicidal because of the religion that they have. And so to me, it's a fear tactic to me. And I don't like it because it sounds like political in some sense. Now I'm all about politics, but in the church, I'm like, are we really steering our people the right way that we need to? We got way too many suicide rates going up for you to be talking about artists. We got way too many people starving and not having jobs for you to sit up here and talk about what music they playing. Are you nuts? Like, what type of shit you on? Like, I'm not for it. I'm not with it, and I ain't following behind no pastor and no preacher who don't do what they supposed to do in their communities. Don't preach to me from a pulpit if you ain't done nothing in your community. Bye. Beat it.
But who what?
The
But
passion.
most
Beat it.
good churches do things in their community. So like, and I'm gonna say the churches I've been to, because I think I'm very selective about where I go and about who I listen to, and I think as far as knowing God for myself and not what somebody told me I should know, but actually like experiencing, knowing for myself, actually like studying, showing myself approved. I don't go places where they don't help out their congregation, or like, you know what I mean, like I was going to this really 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 big church, and I was like, they was kind of like, well, no, you in order to get to the pastor, you got to get through this person, this person, this person. I was like, huh? I'm not going through all of that. I want to be able to say, let me call my pastor. And so I think it like being selective, and then like knowing for yourself what you're listening to or what you're putting in your temple is more important than what somebody told you. So I'll tell y'all this: Cardi B, everybody want their little kids to shake it like a Polaroid picture to what Cardi B talking about. But when Cardi B's music came on and her daughter walked in the room, she turned it off.
Because she knows.
She knows.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think we follow too many people, including artists, instead of actually looking into yourself and seeing what's approved for you. Church people and secular people. That's for me.
I would agree.
Not
And
no indivisible man.
But I would say also, Cardi B is a good example of she's not letting social media and all that other stuff raise her child. She's raising her child. So don't see, we tell these artists, don't make that because the kids listen to it. Well, how about you don't let your kids listen to it? How about you check? And granted, kids can get around it and sneak and all that, but if they got to do all of that, then you still did your job. You didn't allow it. So that's up to the parent. And as far as what Keish said, I've never been one to feel like anybody should be led to God through fear. If you are leading somebody to God through fear, that is not free will. I didn't choose it. I'm scared. And that's two different things. With everything else, to wrap it right on up, at the end of the day, Beyonce does a lot herself for the community. That's what I want people to realize. She does a lot for people. So for you to say she's demonic or she's this or she's that, like you said, where's the evidence? Because evidence of her own life is her doing for people. She shows up as a light when sometimes people sitting in the pew next to you at church are Satan incarnate. So we have to really, the church really has to take a step back and stop being so judgmental, because the very people you think are saints, saved, sanctified, and Holy Ghost filled are evil as I don't know what and mean. So it shouldn't matter what music I listen to if I'm treating people right and I'm living right and I'm being a light, because you could be listening to TD Jakes all you want and still be a demon and a heathen.
All right. So now on to our main dish. Let's talk about survivor's remorse. I'm going to go ahead and let Ashley give you the definition because this topic is very loaded and we want to make sure that we can touch on as much as possible. Go ahead, Ash.
So the American Psychological Association defines survivor guilt as remorse or guilt for having survived a catastrophic event when others did not, or for not suffering the ills that others had to endure. They state that it is a common reaction stemming in part from a feeling of having failed to do enough to prevent the event or to save those who did not survive.
So when I did say it's loaded, one of the first things in survivor's remorse that I did want to talk about was making it, right? And it's probably going to sound bad, but or successful. I'll say successful, right? Being successful. Um, I've met some people who just have a hard time engaging in success because others did not. Or, we grew up in the same household and I have a certain level of success that maybe my siblings did not. And so now I feel bad and I feel like I have to overcompensate and buy them everything or do everything for them because I'm living good and they're not. When um there it's no one's fault. You know what I mean? Really, that people have different experiences or people make different choices. So when I was talking about survivor's remorse, that's what I meant because sometimes even growing up in the hood or growing up in like just negativity or in situations that were meant to keep you down, that's trauma. And a lot of us don't even realize it's trauma until we actually are out of it. And we're like, dang, that was traumatic. Like I was suffocating and now I feel like I can breathe. And so some of us never felt what was on the other side until we actually got there.
I can see that for sure. I think another thing that contributes to it when it comes to success is when you do make it out of the situation, you have people in your life who like say, "Oh, she thinks she better now," or "Oh, she thinks she all that now," and it's like I don't think that. You might think that, and you're projecting on me. I actually don't think that, and I think that's why a lot of times people who do get successful feel like they have to remain so humble. They can't even embrace their successes because it's like I gotta be humble. I can't because it's gonna make other people feel bad, and it's like goodness gracious, you can't even give yourself your flowers for what you've gone through and made it through and succeeded in.
Let me just say one more thing. So I was told to be humble and like that, you don't even know certain people are doctors because they're more humble. And I was like, well, what is it? What exactly does that mean? Like, I have survived a whole lot. You know what I mean? A lot of trauma. I've survived some traumas in my childhood. I'm still getting through traumas. I'm still facing certain things daily. Society will tell you that I was supposed to be a statistic. Society will tell you that first of all, I was supposed to be a statistic because I'm black, because my father was an addict, because you know what I mean, like we didn't have every single thing silver spoons in our mouths growing up. And then I make it. You know what I mean? I actually make it in life and become successful and actually become a doctor. And it's like, dang, I'm so proud. Like, yes, I want people to call me doctor. Well, don't have these people calling you doctor. You need to be humble. I'm like, so don't celebrate success? That's the message.
Yeah.
Well, along those lines too, for me, well, for one, I can say that my husband definitely has experienced this because his nickname back home is Hollywood, right? Because he was one of the very few people that got out, went to college, graduated, and actually became successful and got a career for himself. And even though he will say he doesn't care, about them saying those things about him or whatever, it's like kind of like that I don't know, like what's the word I'm looking for? Not dissonance, but it's like he's happy for himself, but he feels bad that, he didn't take them with him, or like that they're still in those situations and they're still, not able to like barely feed themselves and their kids. But he can't be the savior, so he does it in other ways. So now he'll try to save everybody, or he'll try to make sure that everybody's good. If they need money, he wants to give them money, or he wants to be the person to always help people. But I think it does stem from that remorse or that survivor's guilt of like, I made it out, I'm doing great, and they're still there, and I can't really do anything to help them because they don't want to change either.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the key. It is not your fault that other people don't want to change. Just like you made it out, people have to decide for themselves that they want to do it. And that's not to say that it's not hard. It was hard for anybody who made it out of a traumatic experience or a difficult situation. But if they don't want to put forth the effort, you can't just be their savior. You can't just be there every time they need something and every time they need money. And that's not logic. MC Hammer tried that and ended up bankrupt. So just know if you do that, you are risking your own well-being. I'm saying MC Hammer was popping at one time. Too legit. He was too legit to quit and went broke. Just saying. So you can't do that with everybody. But something Auntie Suge said that was interesting was this idea of being humble. People conflate humbleness with being egotistical. If you're not humble, then you're egotistical. And confidence falls in between that. It's like, no, I'm just confident. I know what I know. I can be confident. I can say that I did a good job. I can say that I did what I was supposed to do. And I can say I'm a doctor and I work for it and call me that. And that ain't got nothing to do with being egotistical. That's me knowing I put in the work. I deserve this thing. People struggle to really embrace what they deserve.
Why you gotta call me out like that?
I'm one of them too. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Why you gotta call me out like that?
I'm sorry.
In your business, in my business.
Especially Black women. We are for Black women. I am very adamant about telling Black women, big yourself up, big each other up. I will listen, Shonda is my cousin, and I will refer to her as Dr. Walker every time we in public. I'll refer to her as Dr. Walker when we in private. I will make other people refer to her as such. That's not, no, that's not Rashonda to you. That's Dr. Walker. I don't care, because at the end of the day, we have to start to understand it is one thing to be egotistical and cocky and feel like you're better than. It's another thing to know I really worked and I deserve this. And we always tend to feel like we don't deserve a thing. No, yes, you do. You deserve it.
You ain't have to read us down like that, though.
She be reading me all the time.
We could have did this off camera, Ashley. We could have just did this off camera.
Right?
We could have went to commercial.
We need another commercial break. God damn it. We need another commercial. You know, I don't know. Like I feel like that is such a hard thing to address. I literally just was with some pastor yesterday, and one man introduced me as Dr. Smith. And then when I introduced myself, I said, you can just call me Keisha. And he said, hold on. He was like, did he just call you doctor though? I was like, yeah. He's like, then I'm going to address you as such. And I was like, no, but this is not. He's like, hold on. He was like, there's no way that you work so hard. He said, first of all, I've never even met a PsyD before. That's number one. He's like, but number two, he was like, there's no way that you work so hard to get a title like that and you don't want to be called doctor. And I was like, no, I'm good. And he was like, I just think that there needs to be some sort of, obviously, acknowledgement that you are a doctor. And he was like, and I think it's important not only for people to call you doctor, but also see other Black men call you doctor as well. And I was like, well, you ain't got to humble me either. You ain't got to call me out either. Is this called Keisha? Is this called Keisha Weekend? This is what we doing? So it's just a hard thing for me to do, and some days I do feel like I worked hard, like I had to sacrifice a lot of things to get to where I am. So absolutely I should be able to say that, but it's just a hard thing for me to do because I'm trying not to. I see this country so much in a hierarchy, and I understand what you're saying, like don't be so egotistical versus humble. Like there's a confidence, there's a middle, and it's so hard to get to that middle ground for me. And I try not to do the hierarchy thing where people think I'm better than them because I have a doctorate. And even girls at work were like, all of them are social workers and counselors. They was like, you don't want us to call you doctor? And I was like, no. And they were like, well, why not? And I was like, well, I only use it when I need to. They was like, well, that's such a boss move. Let people talk and treat you how they treat you first, and then I'll bring out the doctor just in case somebody try to get slick. But I don't know. It's just a hard thing for me to. I'm still working on it. Can we just say I'm a work in progress? Can we say that?
And that's okay. That's okay. The hard part for the reason it's hard, I think, for you to do that and for a lot of people to do that is because you don't want to come off as egotistical or better than, or I'm in this hierarchy, this position of power. But that's not what it is. It's more so knowing in this space, I work for a thing and I can acknowledge who I am and still acknowledge that I'm a human being just like you. I'm a human being, but I'm also a doctor.
Yeah.
I'm a Black woman, but I'm also a doctor. Like you can do that. It's not an either or. It's a both and. I am both of these things.
And I guess you're right when it comes to titles. Like, I can be a doctor and a sister and an auntie and a colleague and a friend. Like this is
yes, indeed.
Okay. I see where we're going here. I see where we're going.
Yeah.
Well, another thing I wanted to say too, because you were talking about the sacrifices that you made to get there, and we all made sacrifices to get where we are now. And one of the things, like I used to joke with my family before I got my doctor, like when I get it, y'all gonna be calling me Dr. Sister, Dr. Mama, Dr. Daughter, whatever, like Dr. Everything. But then once I got it, I didn't go as hard as I thought I would because I was a little nervous that everybody would be thinking, that way, like, oh, she thinks she's better than us because of that. But when we start to have that, like those thoughts that like, okay, I made it out, I was successful, other people in my family weren't, like you feel bad about that, but then realize you made a lot of sacrifices to get there. It might not look the same as them. It might not look the same as the people who didn't want to change and didn't want to do better and didn't make it out. And sometimes you'll even look back and realize that some of those people were supports for you. Like they were pushing you up to get you where you are. So they were sacrificing for you to get where you are, and you were sacrificing to get there too. So it's not just like I just succeeded and I got out. Like you had to give up a lot of time. You had to give up a lot of relationships, probably like a lot of things we had to give up to get here. So we did, in a sense, sacrifice things, and it didn't always feel good until we became doctors.
All three of y'all need to know something. Just real quick, all three of y'all need to know something because y'all three doctors on this podcast. I'm not there yet, and that is fine. You saying call me doctor or I'm a doctor, you acknowledging that and realizing you deserve that and having that worry that people will think a certain thing about you. You have to realize that if they do, that's an insecurity in them. That has nothing to do with you. See, I'm secure enough to call all of y'all doctor in any situation because that's fine. I'm good where I am. And if I want to get higher, I will. But people who are secure within themselves will have no issue with you telling them, I'm Dr. Such and such. They won't, it's not going to be an issue. They're secure. So only people who already have issues of their own are going to feel like, oh, she thinks she's better than. And that's their issue, not yours.
Would you be saying, Shook? That's their stuff.
That's their stuff. Yeah, that's their stuff. Oh, I got to hold your bags. I'm not the bag lady. And like, so I do have that issue, not in my family, but I know people with that issue to where it's like, well, we grew up the same, but and I don't know, I think people don't realize that there are different choices that you make too. And so what I had to stop doing is apologizing and trying to bring everybody along, because I was one of those people who just wanted more for other people than they wanted for themselves. And I've been shown on 2 occasions to stop doing that. And so with that, I think that we need to start realizing that people make different choices, and and success is not only measured by you becoming a doctor or, you owning a house. Success is measured in the eye of the beholder. So if you are successful enough to get out of jail and stay out of jail, that's success. And so I think whenever we look at other people's success and we want it for ourselves, we got to stop doing that, because we don't know what they do to keep that. We don't know what it takes to get there. And I guarantee you, the hives that Keisha had, the edges that I lost, the anxiety that Amber has, they don't want that on the way there.
No.
Some people are going to be like, you know what? That's for you, sis. And so I think that just looking at people and actually coveting what they have, or assuming that they think that they're better than you just because they are actually successful. Because my husband gets that. My husband is very successful, but it's like, oh, okay, well, you think you're better because you made it out. It's not that I think that I'm better. I'm just proud of myself for my choices. And if it was you, you'd be proud of yourself too. So why am I not allowed to celebrate myself?
Dang, but you read this down, Shook. Dang.
I mean, I'm just saying.
She reading y'all down, but then I have to call her to tell her to post about her accomplishments because she don't want nobody to know. But
she does. She does. See, everybody needs that person to be like, stop playing and post your stuff. Ashley posts my stuff before me because I'd be like, oh God, they're gonna think I'm not humble. I was told to be humble.
That's how I was.
They can. Listen, it don't make me no difference. I'm gonna always big up my people, and that's another thing. When it comes to survivor's remorse and survivor's guilt can be helped more if you surround yourself with a support circle that allows you that space to be there and allows you that space to say, no, it's okay that I made it. Like, it's okay that I made these positive choices for myself. That is okay. So you got to be mindful of who you surround yourself with too.
Yeah, so I think that's important as well. If somebody ain't on, I realize that not everybody can come to the top with you or go wherever you're going. And that was a hard reality for me, because I think it's what Auntie Shug said. That's a choice they wanted to make, and not everybody is going to be on that wavelength. Just not everybody is going to be doing that. And you can't want more for somebody who don't want that for themselves. I had to learn that the hard way. So I agree.
Shug trying to force me to go back to school now. I done told her. Y'all just talked about hives and edges. Look, I already am shaved down. You think I don't know that right here?
Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding.
Remember, the only one that keeps saying don't do it. Everybody else like, don't.
Hey, look, like Shug said, the first sign of anxiety or whatever it is that you go feel, you gonna want to back out. We all said like 15,000 times that we done. I'm not doing my dissertation. I'm not doing anything. But we're talking a lot about choices, right? Because there are choices that you make in life, but then there are also things that happen that are not your choice. They're completely out of your control. And so one of the things I'm thinking about that Auntie Shug was talking about earlier with us before the episode is death, right? When someone dies, you feel bad that they were the one that died. You're still here. Why do I get to live and they can't? In that situation, like it's not a choice that you made. So how do you deal with that? Or how do you explain that?
I think a lot of people need to know that it's a normal occurrence. It's normal to feel that. It's very normal. And it's almost like grief work. Like you are not only are you grieving, but you're also feeling guilty and having that remorse because you made it out of whatever the situation was. Even if we didn't want it to come take it away from death and say like you have a friend that you go to school with and you know they have a chaotic household or a drug addicted parent and you don't. You have friend groups who feel like, God, I always want this friend to come to my house because I know her house is rough. So I feel bad that I got it good in my house and she doesn't. So even things like that, that's out of your control. You can't control anything like that, but you feel it. And I think people don't realize that it takes processing to come out of that. You can't just talk your way out of survivor's guilt, especially when it comes to like death. Why did I get to live and they didn't? Why did it happen to them and not me? What's so special about me? And we have these conflated beliefs and cognitive distortions that mess with us. So it's all normal though. And I think that's something that people don't realize. It's normal to feel that way.
So I've had people that I work with PTSD who have survivor's guilt, like, you know, well, why was I attacked, or and you know, those people didn't, why did I get to live and why did my friends not get to live? And I one way I explain it is, well, what about the alternatives? Like, do you want to be on the other side? What if it was you that was on the other side? What would you want that friend to be doing? And then, you know, some people are like, well, I want them to be happy and to go on with their lives and to move on and to move forward. Well, what if we, you know, what does it look like if you apply that principle to your life? And, you know, it kind of helps not even ease the guilt at the moment, but it gives you another perspective to think of, well, shoot, I guess what is the alternative? The alternative was I'm over here feeling bad, but what if I didn't have the chance to feel bad? Would that person be feeling the same, or would they find a way to move on, or how do I move forward? So it kind of gives them a little bit of closure to that situation. And everybody's days are numbered. Everybody's divine death is for them. It's all for you. So why do you want to take on that way whenever something else might be planned for you?
Yeah. I agree with that. And I think that sometimes even with people with maybe spiritual or religious backgrounds of, well, what if they're just dead in the flesh, but not in the spirit? What if there are other ways that you can, speak to them through, or, have some type of remembrance of them, if they follow that route. Um,
That's
But yeah, I think it's a good way to have an alternative thought process with that. What would you be doing, and what would you want your friend, what do you think your friend would want you to do? How do you continue this person's life still? You know, how do you
Yeah.
celebrate the person?
Yeah, y'all both just basically described some of the interventions used for survivor's guilt in so many
Mhm,
words, which y'all both described. That reframe and something that they say you should ask, you want to try to do is move away from why did this happen to what does it mean? What does it mean to me? What
what's
does
the
it
meaning?
mean to life going forward? And then you do like kind of a post traumatic growth where you integrate the loss into your life in a way that makes sense to you.
Mhm,
Does it mean you might volunteer more or you might switch careers or you start putting your feelings into art, like music therapy or art therapy? Like figure out a way to get that out and express it that gives you something beautiful to look at from something painful.
yep,
Mhm.
yeah.
What about trauma though? I know we talked about, like the PTSD, but like, so I'm about to make y'all laugh, okay? And this is my story, so I'm telling it. So if she watches, she's just gonna have to get mad. Um, so growing up, right? We were always living like what I mean, in different apartments. We like my mom was like we was in the struggle for a while because I told y'all I had a drug addicted dad and my mom was making stuff happen the way she had to make it happen. And we moved. My mom bossed up, bought a house, moved us to a nice neighborhood. Why this girl wanted to fight me? She was like, I'm beating her when I get to school. She thinks she's better than us because she moved out of the hood. She wanted to fight me. Like, she was like, who she thinks she is? Like, she thinks she's better because they made it out of hood. You ain't better than nobody. And I think that was her trauma though, right? Like, we are all still here. And you know what I mean? You got a chance to move. You got a chance to do better. And I even get people that's like, oh, well, you had a father. And I'm like, they had no idea what I went through with a father or lack of a father. Like, you had no idea. And so, like, those traumas show up in adults today in people's lives where they think that you just had that better than them. You didn't have the same level of trauma. And so, what I like to say is, we both had trauma. We just had different levels of trauma. Do you really want to trade?
Hell no.
That's always a
Do
question.
not.
Do you want to trade traumas? Do you want to swap stories? Because you never know how it might turn out if you swap. That butterfly effect thing is real. You go back and change things and you don't know how that might look.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You was gonna get beat up for moving.
And it's not like I moved me, like my mom moved me.
Right. Like, this is not my fault. My mama moved. What was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I guess not move with her, but like I think that was a source of like her trauma. It's kind of like I'm watching her make it out and it's not happening for me. And I think that happens like that's like in her trauma was we all had the same thing. We're all looking for our daddies around here. Like nobody's parents are together. We're all like, dang, is he gonna show up or is he gonna do this? And like, so, you know what I mean? My mom was like, you know what, I'm sick of this. I'm about to do this. And so that was just a part of my story. So I just think that and I mean, I never really felt the whole survivor's guilt because of that, but some people do. And I even get people trying to guilt me now for that. So it's like not necessarily moving, but just for having what they thought that I shouldn't have or that they thought that they should have.
Yeah. And I even like as you were telling that, I'm thinking of parents and children. This might not be very common, but I've actually had a couple of families where the child has endured a trauma and the parent feels guilty because they didn't endure that trauma. And I'm talking about sexual abuse in general. But you have they were both moms actually. You have a mom who has a daughter who, she allowed her daughter to stay with family members, right? And then the daughter had that experience. Mom finds out later and feels extremely guilty or remorseful because this didn't happen to her, it happened to her kid. And I don't know if that's considered survivor's remorse or maybe like another form of it, but that's also something that's really difficult to deal with too. When your kid has dealt with something that you haven't dealt with and you kind of want to take it from them and be the person to deal with it.
That might have it might have a different name, but it sounds like, because it's an additional layer to that. Because as a mom, you're gonna blame yourself. Like, if I just hadn't sent her over there, if I just had been more careful, you're gonna start questioning everything about your parenting at that point. So that's a whole nother layer on top of the remorse and guilt.
It's like mom guilt and survivor's remorse.
Right. Like, I'm a bad parent now. So, you know what's interesting too? One of the symptoms of survivor's guilt, and this is for the audience, especially, like if you wonder if you have ever dealt with it, one of the symptoms is persistent focus on the past and what could have been. So if you are consistently thinking about the past and what could have been, well, life would have been different if I would have done this. My life would be different if I would have done this. Their life might be different. That's actually a symptom that you are dealing with survivor's guilt.
Yep. Yeah. I'm a big uh targeter, I guess, when it comes to people using should, the word should in my office. I'm like, should? That's a cuss word in here. What do you mean should? Like should? Like, and then they'll start to like backtrack, like, well, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. I'm like, well, yeah, but we can't change should. Like, we can't change that. I should have done this. Well, it happened already. Now what?
Okay. I was gonna ask you to kind of go in on that because I say that sometimes too in my office. Like, it's good. I'm gonna start saying this cuss word, but I do say, why are we talking about what we should do? But tell me why you say that, Keish.
Because I find a lot of people with carrying heavy guilt of what they should have done, and how they would have wanted, if they would have done this, it would have changed the outcome. And then I have to ask them, like, even if you would have done it, how do you know that outcome would have came? How do you know that that's exactly what would have happened?
Mhm.
So it's targeting those words that, and I know that should make, you would think that having should in a sentence wouldn't have so much impact and power, but it does. And your words matter. Your words matter. What you tell your internalized self is important. And so that specific word, when I hear should, I then start to think like, okay, there's an internalization here that's going on that this person is not going to be able to change. And it's obviously affecting their worldview, how they see themselves. So then I start picking apart, like, okay, how do you see yourself? Your actions, what you've done, and how you view the world. And then we start from there, like in therapy, is at least what I do. So
Should is should is on the cognitive distortion list.
it
It's
is.
really on
Yeah.
the list.
It's that cognitive triad, how you view yourself,
Yep.
the world, and the future. That's
Yep.
what that's called. So
So cognitive distortion is also a way that a faulty way of thinking that doesn't add up with real life.
yep,
Just
Yep.
for those who are watching.
yep, yeah,
Saying should is it's honestly irrelevant to your present because it's already happened and you did whatever you felt was right at the time. That's what I try to tell people. Well, you made a choice at the time. That was just at that time.
yeah.
It could have gone several ways and it went one specific way and now it's over. So now we work on what's next, not what should have been.
All right. Well, I feel like we should go ahead and hop into our foil. This is our facts, knowledge, and information that we send with y'all before leaving. So let's go ahead and hop into that.
My takeaway is that you cannot want more for people than they want for themselves. And survival's remorse or survivor's guilt, if that is something that is in like your internal focus, you kind of have to start looking outward as why not me? We always want to say, well, why me? Why me? Why not me? Why don't you deserve to be successful? Um, doesn't everybody deserve to be successful? And how did you come to that level of success? So we all have free will, we all make choices, and it's time to start looking at yourself and thinking, how did I get here? It's based on the choices I make. And so if everybody has the same will to make their choices, then we got to stop guilting ourselves and having unnecessary guilt over things that just don't matter. Another thing that I did want to touch on was if you have been in some traumatic situations, looking at yourself and realizing that you are deserving and that everything happens the way that it's supposed to happen. And I think we really need to believe that is that the way things unfold was always the plan for your life. So just kind of being grateful and mindful in the moment that you are in and trying your best to move forward in that moment and in a happy space, or even in a space of not just surviving and being guilty, but in a space of being able to maintain a level of respect for yourself and appreciation for yourself is important just in getting through the what shoulda, coulda, or woulda happened. What should, could, and would happen is that you are here, and it's important for you to figure out how to go forward.
My takeaway is more so focused on the things that we can't control, like Auntie Amber was saying earlier in the show. Like, what about those things you can't control that you get survivor's guilt over, like someone passing away and you didn't, maybe you got in a car accident or something, you made it, they didn't. And I want people to focus on the idea of control. What is in your control and what is not? Because oftentimes we will be guilty about something that would have never even been in our control. There was nothing you could do. You are not all knowing. You're not all powerful. You couldn't have done anything about it. So you have to kind of start looking at what can I actually control and what can I control. And then lastly, just some tips for if you are dealing with survivor's guilt or survivor's remorse, and you're wondering, like, is it bad enough for me to seek help? If your symptoms of depression and anxiety interfere with your relationships, job, or day-to-day living, if your emotions and thoughts are overwhelming and difficult to manage, if you're having difficulty sleeping or an increase in nightmares or flashbacks of the event, if you are being more risky and taking more, risk in your behaviors and things like that, or you have an increase in anger, rage, or irritability, that is usually some signs that you may need to ask for some help to help deal with your survivor's remorse, survivor's guilt.
Well, I want to piggyback off of what Auntie Shug said earlier, and what she always tells me and tells everyone else is asking yourself, is this your stuff or is it their stuff? And the reason why I think it's important to, ask yourself about the things that you put on yourself for feeling guilty for not doing something is because sometimes we carry the load of others and don't even recognize how heavy we get. And I think it's important to decipher what's your stuff and what's their stuff, because lifting that off of you, not going to say it completely takes it away, but it will definitely lighten the load. So we already got enough to carry in this country anyway. A lot of the economic loss, a lot of grief and loss. We've had a lot to deal with in the last few years. And so taking on people's extra bags, you're not a bag lady and you do not need to be carrying other people's stuff. So ask yourself, is this your stuff or is this their stuff?
I'm gonna, I guess, take it like reverse this. So all of you are giving your foil for people who are actually experiencing survivor's remorse, and I'm gonna kind of flip it and talk to the people who are contributing to it, because I honestly believe that I don't think that everybody realizes or does it intentionally, tries to make people feel guilty for doing better or for being successful or whatever the case is. But I do think that if you look at yourself and recognize what you're doing and how you could be making someone else feel, that's very important. And again, if you do feel some kind of way, if you're jealous or envious of somebody else's success, then you need to figure out why. Why do you feel that way? And what changes can you make to get yourself to the point where you don't feel like you have to make someone else feel guilty for their successes?
So now that we got all that out the way, what y'all finna do?
Hey!
You could be listening to TD Jakes all you want and still be a demon and a heathen.
And you could be getting it into TD Jakes.
You know what? Goodbye. Camera. Cut. Cancel. Next.
Let's wrap this up. Let's move on.
That's so stupid.
Leave it to Shug to have us cut to commercial.
You're not wrong though. A lot of people ask that question, like, are you getting it on to the gospel?
It's
I
weird.
didn't know such thing existed. I'm going to hell because I want to listen to these motherfuckers. They stopping me. I'm gonna hurt myself. I'm going to hell. Yo, to get me hyped, like the intro to that was dope.
Listen,
That's how I be feeling.
Keesh, I'm the same way. If my mood is off, I will get in the car in a minute and throw on some on my mama, on my hood. I'm like, pump me up. Tell me I look good. Let's go.
I know all the words to half of them songs, so I'll be like,
I know all the words.
Well, we've seen you in action, Shug. We've seen you in action when we came down to Louisiana.
okay, what's our topic?
Survivor's remorse.
Oh, we really was talking about that today?
Keesh, here she go again. Keesh.
Nope. I'm not saying nothing.
Okay.
I just know Amber is muted and I don't know what the hell she's saying, but I'm not saying nothing.
I said, yes, that's what we're doing, Shug. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm about to make y'all laugh, okay? And this is my story, so I'm telling it. So if she watches, she's just gonna have to get mad. And so like
And she gonna watch this?
Probably.
We got to cut to commercial because she ain't gonna be coming after me. I ain't laughing after you.
How many commercials we gonna do today?
I don't know. As many as we got, we should.
So, my takeaway from this is that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, one of my eyes looked like it was going that way because I was like,
What, mine? No, I just saw you go, and I'm like, what is you laughing at?
I looked at my eye and I was like, oh God.
All right, well, we're good. What y'all finna do? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, can I say it?
Andrew was too amped. What y'all finna do?
Y'all will never let me say it. Shut up, Amber, say it. What they finna do. Now that we got all that, okay. So now that we got all that out the way, what y'all finna do?